Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King, and today I have the pleasure to interview author Christine Krauss. How you doing today, Christine?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Well, thank you for your investment of time and energy with joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I feel very honored to be sitting here with you.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, one of the first questions I like to ask to kind of set the tone for the podcast is to ask, what's your spiritual energy state? A numerical number between zero being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome. Where would you say your state is currently
Uh,
right now?
Definitely a 9.5.
Excellent, excellent. Well, the reason I ask that question is I'm a firm believer, like Einstein says, that energy is everything and everything is energy. And when I have my meetings or when I do these podcasts, if I meet people who are twos or threes, I reschedule because they're not going to be present. They're not going to be engaged. They're going to be adversarial. So eights through 10, we can create miracles. So thank you for indulging me with that
Oh,
question.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you for indulging me with that. So as we begin, my first question I would like to begin with is, what do you see as your purpose in life?
I mean, that is such a. I know all your questions are going to be very thought provoking. I'm not sure I have a specific purpose, or perhaps that purpose is yet to be revealed. But for now, I live for my children and to raise them to be kind humans and functioning adults. But otherwise, I'd like to think that in my existence, I spread joy to others by being approachable and making sure everybody feels comfortable and included, and as well as being a positive energy in a room, or so I've been told at least.
Well, that's an excellent answer. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. My next question is, we throw this term out in today's society of conscious leaders quite a bit. And that can mean a variety of different answers depending on who you ask. So that's why I always like to ask people who I believe are conscious leaders how they themselves define a conscious leader. So, with that being said, how would you define a conscious leader?
Well, truthfully, I only learned this phrase since meeting you, and it was very thought provoking. And I didn't want to simply Google the answer, as I felt these words together were so powerful, and I wanted them to marinate and resonate with me, and kind of tell you what it means in my own words. So, to me, doing something consciously is to bringing focus and awareness to a specific area. And I think about my yoga practice, and we do conscious breathing. So we bring focus and awareness to our breath, and we bring that energy to heal areas of our bodies that need extra love in that moment. And leadership, obviously, is to inspire and teach others to listen and understand. Through purposeful vocabulary and positive affirmations to inform and recognize how they can inspire change within, to consciously be an active part of a solution through words, actions, and reactions. So, in summary, I think a conscious leader is somebody who educates individuals to a cause or a movement with patience, one person at a time, until society finally catches up for that change to occur and become mainstream and ingrained. Um, Also, to help people understand that their words and actions matter, listening is important and an integral part of understanding and enacting change. So I think when we know better, we do better as a
Ab-
society.
Absolutely. And it's very similar to kind of what you've done when you wrote your book about Teddy, right?
Oh, thank you. I mean,
Like,
I think I unconsciously was a conscious leader. So thank you. That's such a compliment.
well, that's why I feel that you are a leader in that context because everything you just laid out as a definition to me is what you achieved in writing the book.
Thank
You're,
you.
you create a movement, you're bringing awareness, you're educating children. So that to me defines conscious leadership.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And so, of the things you've accomplished, whether in your life or just um, in general, what would you say you are most grateful for?
My children. I am most grateful for my family. I think the moment you become pregnant or bring a child into this world, um, I believe for most people anyway, that you begin to understand your emotions
Mhm.
and you become more empathetic and understanding to like world issues like war and suffering. Because honestly, any scenario you picture yourself in that position, not just fending for yourself anymore, but how to navigate those issues with your baby and children too. Whenever my mind goes there, I can't help be grateful for all that I have, where we were born, where we live, having access to food, water, nature, community, just everything really. I feel like we're very blessed and I'm grateful every day.
Absolutely, excellent. I think a lot of people take those little things for granted. Like I wake up with being grateful for life, sound
Yes.
mind, the ability to see, hear, think, walk, talk, stand, breathe, as you say, roof over your head. To me, as long as those things are there, everything else, no matter how big the project I'm working on, the proposal, all those things may seem important, but I tell people if you can't hear when you wake up, I don't care if you're working on a $10 billion proposal that would change your life, your ability to not hear is going to be your most dominating thought and concern, and that's what you're going to be focusing on. So that's why I don't take that for granted. I believe, and once you do take accept gratitude for those little things, to me, it sets my mood for my day. Now my day can only get better. It can't get worse because I've been blessed with these things I'm grateful for. So that's why I always ask that question as well.
Hey, I have this coworker. I'd say, "Good morning. How are you?" And he would say, "Every day above ground is a good day." So I like that answer. It stuck with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just real quick, I had a friend of mine that I used coworker used to ask that same question, and her answer was always the same soup warmed over. And I thought that was such a
Oh.
depressing answer to say the same soup warmed. I mean, because who wants to eat the same soup every day warmed over? But that's how she looked at things, and as a result, her energy, all of that was just really on a very low vibe, a low vibration rate, and so things just happened to her in a very tragic way from her perspective. So
Oh, well, victim mentality is never good. And yeah, I've worked with also some people who I'm like, "Good morning, how are you?" And they're like, "What's good about it?" You know, and it's so eventually I just stopped saying good morning to those people. Like, I mean, I gave it like a year or two. I gave it my best effort to put that positive energy out there. And but some people you can't change their attitudes or their mind, and it's so energy draining to even try. So it's like move on
absolutely,
to keep the more positive, non-toxic people in your life.
absolutely, absolutely. But we both on the same page there. But speaking about kind of reaching people and educating people, as we talked about before, I'm curious to know what inspired you to become an author.
uh Between my cat and my children really is the most basic answer. Writing is something I've always enjoyed, and I feel like I am a natural storyteller. I've always loved to make people laugh too, but specifically just making it happen was waiting until I had the right message and inspiration to really motivate that passion inside of me. So my inspiration is my rescue pet Teddy, sharing their stories and messages to bring awareness about preventable injuries to animals and to help raise money for rescue organizations. Um, because those people who work at the rescue organizations, I mean, they're volunteering their lives selflessly to rescuing animals from like horror situations, abuse and neglectfulness. And so I really kind of felt passionate about that cause. And when I adopted Teddy, I couldn't help by fostering other animals. So I wanted to share Teddy's story. Because it's not uncommon and but I'd never heard of it before, so I wanted to help share that message. Um,
Excellent, excellent.
yeah.
So my next question is, your target audience for that was children. So why is it important to share that message you felt with children?
Because I think that when an idea or a deep emotion is felt by a child, it kind of stays with them. And those lessons can help shape their perspectives and decisions like into adulthood. Uh, I think I saw a video when I was a child about a duck being trapped in the rings of like a plastic six-pack can holder,
Wow.
and like that stuck with me. And so even like as an adult, I take scissors and I cut all the rings on those plastic things before I recycle them, just because it's a preventable injury and I want to do my part.
Mm,
So I think kids will remember what can happen to an animal if left outside during extreme weather conditions, and they'll make conscious choices throughout adulthood and like do better.
absolutely, that's a good point. Definitely, kids could definitely be impacted by things that they see at an early age. I remember when I was a kid watching, at that time, they would show videos of not to get in stranger cars.
Yes.
So, and a stranger would pull up and ask a child, you like ice cream and you live around here, and the video will stop and say, "Do not get in." And I still remember that to this day, how that stays in my mind because that made that kind of impression. So you're absolutely right. Being able to communicate a message to a child, I think, is a gift as well. I don't think everyone can do that. So great
Thank
job
you.
doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I tell my kids all the time, I will never ask somebody to pick you up ever. It will always be me. So if someone says, "Oh, your mom sent me to come and get you," or "I have candy," or "Do you want to help me look for my lost puppy?" That is a trap. Do not fall
Absolutely,
for it. You're
absolutely.
not adopted. None of whatever they tell you to try and trick you and get you to feel bad about your family situation and trust them, it's a lie. Don't do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we talk about, and I see you have so much joy in talking about your book, and definitely your cat, your adopted cat. What was your biggest challenge you had in writing the book?
Writing the book actually came quite easy, just because it's a true story. So I'm really was just telling the cat's journey. So I mean, I kind of tracked Teddy's history back a little bit, and it was so wonderful connecting with all of these people who were a part of connecting Teddy with me. That was amazing. Uh, and writing it came naturally. Simplifying the story down to just very basics, to explain it to a child, and hoping that they pick up on those messages, those subtle messages that are in the story, where it was a little bit of a challenge, but mostly the challenging part for me is technology.
Mm,
So learning the publishing process and the limitations and parameters to getting your book on the shelves in bookstores has been a process. It's a journey, but I'll get there eventually. I'm hoping to change things up with the publication of my second book and do things a little bit differently.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. I think one of the most important things that people should keep in mind when they're are doing something for the first time, and it's one of my favorite books by Deepak Chopra, where he talks about the seven spiritual laws of success. And one of the laws of success is to detach yourself from the outcome. In other words, just do it for the process, do it for the learning, and
Yes.
take joy in that as opposed to holding yourself accountable to trying to make it perfect and hope it resonates with everybody and hope it becomes a bestseller. All those things you can't control, but you can control the process and the learning in which you, as you say, improve as you write your second book and so on and so forth. So thank you for making that point. I think that's
Thank
definitely
you.
important to point out. Um, Now, what do you enjoy most about being an author?
I would have to say the children's reactions to the stories. I attended one of my child's class field trips about 6 months after the book even released. So the kids had all seen it in their school library and classes and probably read it half a year ago. But oh my God, as soon as I showed up on this field trip, all the kids gathered around me and were firing all sorts of questions at me about the cat. Like, is it really a true story? Is Teddy your real pet? And I felt like a celebrity, honestly. I loved so much that my story brought so much joy and intrigue to them. And it was such a special moment. So, uh, also, like my entire neighborhood stops to pet Teddy out on the front sidewalk, and kids knock on the door specifically to ask if Teddy can come out and play. It's just so cute. And I never would have met those people probably without the cat. So it's bringing the community together. And I've met so many interesting people from all over the world doing podcasts, as well as locally. I mean, it's just been such a wonderful experience all around.
See, the quintessential definition of a conscious leader. So you're touching many lives, you're impacting folks. Teddy feels love now, so
Yes.
all those things where all the energy was created by you taking action and putting forth the love you felt out there in the universe. So definitely want
Oh,
to
thank
commend
you.
you.
I feel like am getting so much more out of it than I've given. But I mean, I guess you're right. So that's so sweet to say. Thank you.
Well, you earned it, definitely.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. What advice would you give someone like myself, who's an aspiring author, working to finish their first books, find it challenging to, and all the challenges that's associated with that? What advice would you give someone like myself?
Just do it. Just get your ideas down on paper, and just read over them over and over and over until you have your words exactly how you want them. And yeah, with the internet and author communities and Amazon, you could really publish and get your works out there in a non-traditional way. It's not easy, but it is simple if you just commit to the process. So literally just do it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, I hope Nike doesn't sue me for saying that. I just stole their slogan.
Well, Nike's happy that you're saying it. It brings attention
That's
to
true.
Nike. It's an unpaid advertisement for them.
There you go. You're welcome, Nike.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I know through a course of a lifetime and a course of a day, you're making thousands of decisions. But I'm curious to know, has there been one decision that you would say you've made in your life that has been the most impactful and most meaningful in your life?
I One decision in my life. Oh my goodness. Just the decision to become a mother, I think.
Hmm.
Um, it was something I never really knew that I would have a natural ability for. But at 35 years old, I was like, okay, time to grow up and really like, I mean, I was grown up. I always had lots of responsibilities, but I really um it was something I wanted to do, obviously, and yeah, it just changed everything. So, I mean, I think that was the most important decision I ever made in my entire life. I don't think anything is more important than um, being a parent. It's the hardest job in the world, really is, and the most important.
I can understand that and respect that. One of the things that I do in my business is I have conscious leaders to build what I call connectionally intelligent tribes of other conscious leaders who they're aligned with, because we can't really accomplish these higher purposes by ourselves. We have to form relationships, and it's best to do it with people who are aligned with your purpose and your principles. And it's doing so, I've come up with 8 characteristics that I look for when I reach out to someone that I want to connect with, that I'm holding them accountable to having. Not all 8, but they have to have at least 2 that I consider to be a deal breaker if they don't. For example, growth mindset and having a grateful spirit. Those 2 things to me are extremely
Mm.
important for anyone I connect with. So I'm curious to know, do you have any characteristics that you look for people you're going to meet, or connections you're building of potential people you're going to co-create with?
Yeah, I feel like connections form naturally over time, or they can just be instantaneous. I look for authenticity in a
Hmm.
person, because I'm someone who is genuine and trusting, and I hate being burned for my good nature. Like people think they maybe mistake kindness for weakness, and it's hard to tell the difference between sugar and salt.
Hmm.
So I I feel like I do have put my trust in the wrong people, but I've learned from that in my life, and it's a sad lesson to learn. I mean, every time it happens to you, you just feel so betrayed that um, connections can be so meaningless to other people, and they're just willing to like slit your throat immediately, no matter how much history and stuff that you've had with them. So um it's those are always hard lessons to learn in life. So yeah, I'm just really looking for people who are authentic and value their relationships with others,
Okay,
and aren't willing to give up so easily, I think.
I like that. I definitely can agree with those as well.
Thank you.
Kind of a part two of this question is, in addition to my services, I help my clients identify who will be a great strategic partner for them, someone that they can build with and may complement their skill sets that they may not have, such as marketing, such as human resources, hiring, or whatever it may be. So I'm just curious to know who would be a great strategic partner for yourself.
For me, it would probably be someone who understands technology and then could like um, just help me with social media or uh, computer design stuff for the book, like layouts and things like that. I'm terrible at all things technology, but I'm getting better every day, though. So yeah, and people who maybe like influencers or somebody who has a large social media presence who could give us a shout out or something. I think that would be helpful. Um, yeah,
Okay. Well, no, that's an excellent. Those are excellent choices. Absolutely,
thank you.
absolutely. Now, the two times we've talked, I mean, even today, for sure, you bring a certain amount of energy to the conversation, enthusiasm, great spirit, smiling,
Thank you.
and I'm curious to know, are there certain morning rituals that you go through to kind of filter out all the negative news that the media tries to pump into our heads, even notifications on our phone, everything's always negative. Either it's race, it's politics, it's environment, it's it's something that's drawn to give you something negative. Is there something you do in the morning to kind of help you keep the mental state that you're at right now?
You know what? You're right. I try not to watch the news at all because it's depressing. I feel like they don't share enough positive stories with the world. It's all negative. So, but the first thing I do in the morning is I get up and I go into the bathroom, and I have a wooden sign that I painted myself, and I chose the slogan for it, and it says, "Today I choose joy."
Hmm.
And I look at that sign, it's the first thing I see every morning, and, um, yeah, I try to, you know, live by that.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Now, my next question, allow me to kind of explain it while I ask
Yes.
it as well. Is there a kin connection you would like to meet? And what I mean by that is not necessarily a play on my name or my company's name, but it's an individual who I've given a title to who has reached a level of success, whether it's career, professional, personal, in which you admire them. And if you were to meet this individual, you want to do something together, not as a fan, but as someone potentially to co create something that would be much better for the world as a result of you two collaborating. Like, for example, mine would be Magic Johnson, not because he's a basketball player, but because of his business acumen, his community, real estate development. I share that passion, and I believe if we were to come together, we can really do some great things and transform some cities as a result. Because I have developed a process for how to connect with, and I believe everybody's accessible. It's just a matter of what your purpose is it in line with theirs, and then what connections lead to that individual. So, with that being said, as a
Mm.
context, what would you say is who would be a great king connection for you to meet?
Um, gosh. Uh, not even author related at all, just, in general. Scott McGilvery. Do you know who this is? This is a
I
Canadian,
do not.
okay, yeah, we have, the Home and Garden Television Network in
Mm,
Canada. Scott McGilvery really helps people, renovate their homes and, unlock their home's potentials through design and renovation, and, he's so funny, he's so skilled, he's, just an amazing person. He helps people and he keeps it affordable. And I honestly think I love his energy, and I love to design things and make things beautiful as well. And I'd love to hang out with him and just flip properties is also a very fun and rewarding experience, and you change people's lives that way. But I also really admire Tom Hanks. Just for all that he is, he hasn't really let celebrity change who he is. He's just a kind and genuine person, and you could just really see that. I mean, I don't know how these people would benefit me, but I just admire them.
No, no, thank you for sharing. And that's interesting. I actually do. I don't use the term flip, but I renovate houses for resale, and so that's why I say everybody's accessible. It's just the right connections that lead to the individual. And I realize that, and I've learned that if a person principles and passions are aligned with yours or aligned with theirs, that's the reason for talking, as opposed to I'm a fan. Can I get your autograph? They hear that all the time, but
Of
when
course.
anyone who they can really connect with, that's rare. And anyone is looking for that person to connect with and build with.
Well, and there's a lot you can learn from somebody just by listening. I mean, and that's why I'm an open book about life and struggles and emotions and things like that, because I feel like that then people could connect with you and yeah, unless you have those conversations, you're not going to know what interests you. And hey, what interests you? Maybe I never even thought of, and then now it interests me. So, yeah, it's listen and get to know people, ask them questions.
Absolutely. I mean, look at someone like Robin Williams, the late great Robin
Yeah,
Williams. And from the outside looking in, you would think he had a perfect life. But again, I've learned that you don't have the right people around you, people who you really trust, who has your best interests. That's why I advocate spending time and really building your own tribe of people who really have your back. And it not necessarily won't be family, necessarily won't be close friends you grew up with, because there could be jealousy and envy there.
yeah.
But you can meet someone from around the world and they would just really resonate with you for who you are, what your purpose is. And that's the basis where you all begin to connect and build on. And next thing you know, you have a much richer relationship than you have with someone you've known for 30 years of your life. At least that's how it's been for me. I literally have folks I've met over Zoom that I'm doing great things with and share some of my deepest, most personal goals and passions with, that I won't even share with my own family members because they won't understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, or they're not willing to listen for the reasons that you mentioned. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I've had connections with people that I've met instantly, and I feel that it is a deeper connection than people I've known my whole life. I mean, you've changed my life. Just meeting you and
Well, thank you.
understanding what a conscious leader is. Like, you're like, I get very emotional thinking about you and hearing your questions and trying to answer them, and uh, discovering what a conscious leader is. I mean, you're amazing in every way. I
Well,
really
thank you.
admire you.
Well, thank you. Well, it's reciprocal because, again, and I don't say this to really try to boost your ego, but I just definitely want to make sure you understand that you need to be applauded for taking the step you did. I mean, first of all,
Thank you.
adopting a cat that most people will look at and not want to deal with. You took on that responsibility and then you turned that into something that was even more impactful. Now, as a result, you're influencing and impacting the lives of hundreds of other people. And future, maybe thousands of millions, you never know. So that to me shows the heart of who you are and your character. And that speaks
Thank you.
louder than anything else. So I definitely want to applaud you as well for that.
Thank you. I'm so humbled by your words, and yeah, I never even thought that it would be what it is. So thank you. It's I don't have an ego at all, so it's hard to accept such kindness and things for ourselves. So I really appreciate you saying those things.
Absolutely. Well, you deserve it. And,
Thank
you've
you.
done a great job of answering all the questions. We're down to the last question now.
Okay, I'm ready.
And this question here for me is one of my favorite questions because I learned so much from this question. And it tells me so much about who the individual is, not from a judgment context, but just a fact-based answer. But it also, I learned from them what books I may have never heard of before by asking this question as well. So now I ask you this question: what book would you say that you would recommend to our listening audience that probably has been the most influential in your life, that you would say, if it's one book that you got to read, and it could be several books if you can't just narrow down to one, But what book would you feel that you want to share our listening audience? It's a great book for them to read.
Well, it's a book that everybody's heard of, I'm sure. It's The Da Vinci Code. And mostly because I hate division and narrow-mindedness, and that you can't be open to seeing other people's perspectives because of an agenda. So I feel like Dan Brown did an amazing job of highlighting the views of scientists and religion by marrying both of these positions in a very non-judgmental way, seeing both sides, advocating for both sides, and then educating both sides. So when people have the ability to expand their minds and listen to other perspectives, I think only then you can grow. Plus, for me personally, it was a very exciting page turner full of adventure and history, using real world landmarks. When I was reading that book, I was actually traveling through Europe at the time, and I felt a deep connection to the stories, like in a private, in-depth kind of way, because to these, like, when I would visit these places, I felt like I knew more than the average person who was just visiting it because it's on the tourist map. I had a deeper understanding of its history and its meaning, and what could lie beneath and be hidden in the tombs or behind the walls, or why these um, uh, why certain things are there, and so much history. It's a book I could read over and over and continue to learn.
Excellent, excellent. And that was a great movie. I haven't read the book, but I definitely enjoyed the movie. And there's Tom Hanks again. So
Well, yes, I mean, he only picks the greatest roles, and honestly, I love Elvis Presley, and I, of course, was probably the very first person to see the new Elvis movie in the theaters. I had a very difficult time seeing Tom Hanks play a villain. But yeah, Elvis Presley is one of those people too. A king connection I would love to meet. I don't feel like he had the proper people around him looking out for his best interests, and he had a very, very sad but extraordinary life. Um, I wish I could have been his friend.
and you make a good point. As we get to close this out, that's why I really want to make sure I give you your flowers now. Is that people who create things don't really understand, I think, the impact their creation has on the world. And of course, people come around you who you pay, and people who want you to come and just be that talent. But true people who've been touched by what you do, I think, is where they need to share with you the impact that you had in their lives. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for scheduling the time and putting forth the energy to give me thought-provoking answers to my questions. I feel you did a really deep introspective analysis of each question. I appreciate the time you put into that. And as we close out, I want to give you an opportunity to share any closing thoughts of wisdom that you might have with our listening audience, as well as your contact information for folks who might want to pick up Teddy's book or just connect with you in general and look for ways they can support your movement you're building.
Oh, thank you. Words of wisdom. Well, I don't know how wise I am, but I just feel like the more you know, the more you grow. So just be better and do better, and be kind, really, to other people. That's just the bottom line in life, isn't it? You can Google me. My website will come up, or you can Google the story "Teddy Loses His Ears," and it will bring you to Amazon or Chapters Indigo. Anywhere you could pick up the book anywhere. But check out my website, www.christinemilkovic.com, and see the real Teddy. Pictures of him at home, relaxing and enjoying his new life. And there's coloring pages for your children, and a little bit more history on how the cat is doing today. And I would just encourage people to just go through their house and donate blankets or cat food, or even cash donations to their local rescue, because every little bit helps, especially right now. Shelters are overflowing with animals, and they could really use the help. So if you can, uh, volunteer to foster an animal and relieve their burden a little bit, and give that animal a safe house full of love until that animal can be placed and adopted with its forever family.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a powerful words of wisdom that you shared there, and I concur with you 100%. Animals bring a certain amount of energy in your life, but they also are there unconditional to love you, and if you can give that love to them, it's a great co-creation of love and joy in each other's lives. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, animals are just they just bring so much joy to me. They say dogs are loyal, but you know what? My cat chose me. And that cat follows me around and we have our own little routine and our own little love fest every night. So I mean it really fills my cup too to have that connection.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, Christine, thank you for your investment of time and energy with joining the show today. I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to this episode of King Connections. And until our next episode, I wish everyone a blessed and productive life. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.